Hey guys, welcome back to an all-new episode of a pro wrestling podcast with Matt and friends. I am your host, Matt Kozakowski. Today, I am joined by the legendary D-Von Dudley's twin boys, Terrence, Terrell, Hughes, TNT. Guys, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. I'm very excited about this. Like I said, I've been looking to get a set of twins on my show that are in wrestling. I'm glad you guys are my first. It's gonna be a fun show. Obviously you guys grew up in pro wrestling because of your dad. Atmosphere was all probably pro wrestling. A question I've always wondered, was it hard having a dad as a pro wrestler growing up, him traveling all the time and stuff like that?
No, I don't think it was hard. If anything, I think it was really cool to have a dad, because it wasn't like your normal typical career that most people had growing up. Like, we were different, so we stuck out and everybody thought it was cool. Even if you weren't a wrestling fan, everybody thought it was cool to have a dad as a professional wrestler. So I think it was cool. As far as like growing up in the business, I would say that it definitely like puts pressure on you to be, you have big shoes to fill. But as far as growing up with it, I think it was really cool to have.
Yeah. Terrence, what about you?
I would say that it was fun because you're traveling with your dad. You're going everywhere with your dad. Like, our dad wasn't someone who just kind of, because some wrestlers, they don't really have a relationship with their dad. They don't talk to their kids. So it was fun for us because we kind of went everywhere with them, got to experience a lot. While most people went to work with their dad, they're going to, an office setting. They're going to, a building. We're going to different buildings, different states, different arenas, meeting different people. So, in that aspect, it was really fun. And then, of course, in elementary school, you got kids that are always asking questions, even bringing action figures to school, saying, like, I got your dad. That's not a common thing you hear. So it was always fun. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Before we started, Terrell, I was telling your dad that, or Terrence here, that said your dad. I was telling Terrence here that I had 3 wrestling action figures, my first 3 that I ever bought before I was a big wrestling fan, and one of them was your dad's. I had your dad's, I had DDP, and I had Sting. Those were my first 3 action figures I ever got.
Was this ECW or WWE?
It was early WWE. Early WWE.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
When it was WWF.
Yeah. So
it was like with the camo and the glass. It came with the glasses pack and the break table.
Yeah. Well, not the breakaway table. It was one of the other ones, but it did come away with the glasses.
With the glasses. Yeah.
But no, it was one of the first 3 I ever bought, and I can't find it anywhere. But it's always cool to know that I have you guys on my show, and your dad was one of the first figures I ever got. So cool. Terrence just mentioned that. So it's always a fun thing. Did you guys get a lot of your dad's action figures growing up?
He got a lot of free action figures. He never had to pay for it, so boxes would be sent to the house. So in terms of did we get any, we got boxes of them. I don't know how long they lasted. We had dogs that would chew them up, and we would take them places and lose them. So out of all the boxes, there's probably only like 5 that are framed that are still left. But we got boxes of growing up.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So question, were the Dudley boys your favorite tag team growing up?
You said what other tag team?
Were the Dudley boys your favorite tag team growing up?
I would say for me, I would say for me, I would say that they were my top pick. I think just mainly because every time they would have like the 3-way with the Dudleys, the Hardys, Christian, and Edge. Obviously, I'm going to root for my dad and my uncle. You know what I mean? So like during the Attitude Era, when they had like the greatest era of tag team wrestling, our dad and Bubba was definitely my top pick. And then as far as like other eras, I may have had some favorites, but like when he was there, he was always like my favorite for sure.
Oh, for sure. What about you, Terrence?
Yeah, the Dudleys, the Hardys, it was always a tie between the two. The Hardys, they were one of our favorites because they were real brothers. As people know, Devon and Bubba aren't real brothers. So, that was something we could relate to, the Hardys. But I wouldn't say we liked one more than the other. I'd say we just enjoyed watching them both.
Oh, for sure. Were you guys ever questioning your dad, like, is Bubba really your brother? Or was there ever a time that you guys actually believed that, or you guys always knew it was fake?
We always knew. He didn't look like a family. He didn't look like a family.
He could have been adopted. You don't know,
Bubba has different characteristics, different traits, different personality, just not like the family. So I never once guess
Well,
that.
the story isn't that they're brothers; it's their half brothers. And I guess Mama Dudley got around and was with everyone. So that's the story. So I guess if that was the story, it could have been legitimate. I mean, if I believe it.
Yeah, no, I get it. I think a lot of people, I mean, obviously not knowing, growing up as kids, unless it's you guys where you guys grew up into the business, you didn't know wrestling was real or fake. Like myself, I actually believe they were brothers for a while, half brothers, but then you grow up into it and you realize they're not, when Devon was ever a heel, did you guys ever say like, my dad's not like that? Or was it always just like, you knew that there was a story too?
I always felt like he was having fun because like every time I would see him go out there and they would start like a riot, I knew Bubba's personality and I knew his personality. And I just kind of understood it was work for him and that was his job to get them upset. And so like everything, I don't know, I think that's part of being a second generation wrestler. Like a normal kid would probably see people cussing out your dad and thinking that that's a bad thing. But growing up in the business, it was kind of a normal thing. Like there was always somebody getting booed and getting cheered, and that was just work. So I just always understood that was work.
For sure. What about you, Terrence?
I always knew just because, he would have fun doing it. He would come home, have fun doing it. He would talk about it before he would do it. And then I would anticipate it. So, I never once thought that it was real. I always knew, he's enjoying what he does. It was always fun to watch.
I mean, did you guys ever like watch it on TV and be like, turn to your mom and be like, hey, why are they beating up an old woman in the ring?
I think I always ask that. That's always a question that comes to mind. But especially the Mae Young storyline where they beat up on Mae Young. Those were always things that came to my mind. Yeah.
We were there that night.
And you were there?
Yeah, we were there. But the funny part about it is like that was a pretty big part of the Dudley Boys becoming the Dudley Boys was when they were 3Ding or putting everybody through tables. And we went to the bathroom and missed the whole segment. And then by the time we got back down to our seats, our mom, because I think I was like maybe 5 or 6 at the time, and she like brought us down and they were just leaving back up the ramp to like go backstage, and they were taking Mae Young back. So like we missed the whole thing.
Oh man,
we were there that night.
So when that happened and you seen her on the stretcher, did you guys like ask what happened? And your mom had to say like, so your dad and Uncle Bubba beat up Mae Young?
Well, my uncle was there. He was he's close to our age. He's like maybe 2 years older. So like he stayed in the seats and he was like, you guys missed it. And then he kind of filled us in with everything that happened. So he was a wrestling fan too.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now we've seen you guys debut in TNA over almost a decade ago, I want to say, in an involvement with D'Angelo Dinero and Devon. How did that storyline come into play? Was it talked to you guys about like from your dad, or was it something TNA mentioned to you guys specifically? How did that angle come about?
Vince Russo had just asked. It was kind of just as simple as, hey, can your boys come in? And then our dad said, yeah. And then he was like, I'm going to write something up. And then he wrote a storyline up. He had Pope D'Angelo Dinero, who wasn't doing it at the time, and he kind of came up with something. So it was all Vince Russo's idea pretty much.
I remember that like it was nothing. And I remember thinking how cool it was. Cause I think back then you guys were the first set of twins that were on television in pro wrestling on a mainstream broadcast. I don't recall any other set of twins. Yeah. Cause the Usos, I think debuted maybe right around that time. Cause they've been in WWE for about a decade. So I don't think, I think you guys were the first ones to show up on live TV like that.
What about the Basham brothers? Wasn't the Basham brothers?
They're not brothers. They're two different people. No, they look so similar. It's crazy.
I didn't know that.
But yeah, they're not even related. Yeah, they look so identical, dude. It's crazy to me. Now, when that came about and they gave you that storyline saying like, hey, so we're going to have you guys go with D'Angelo instead of your dad and get to the point of turning on D'Angelo to join your dad. How comfortable did you guys feel with not being on your dad's side the whole storyline?
Well, we did a storyline before that with Bubba. That was the first storyline, and everybody thought we were going to turn on our dad at that point. Like people were like anticipating that we're going to turn, like the Sandman. Sandman had Raven had Sandman's son turn on him, so that's what they thought they were going to do with Bubba. And then when they called us about D'Angelo, we kind of just assumed that was probably like this time that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So we were kind of already expecting it, but I thought it would be cool because at the time I was in high school still. I was a sophomore, and my dream was, I always thought wrestling was really cool, and that's something that I wanted to do. So I was like, this is an opportunity for us to practice and be able to like get in front of not just an indie crowd, but like actually on TV and see like what it's like to do it. So I was just excited to do it.
Oh, absolutely. What about you, Terrence? What did you feel about that?
I was happy to do anything, to be honest, because it was like our first opportunity just to get on national television. And at the time, we were consistently going to the shows because if you remember, TNA was taping weekly at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. So we lived in Melbourne, Florida, which is about an hour away. And so prior to the storyline starting, we were already in the crowd every week going to the shows. So now you're telling us, you know, we can still do that. We get paid for it at 16. So it was actually one of those moments where like, it didn't matter what it was, if it was turning on our dad, going with our dad. But I think in all honesty, even at 16 years old, you can kind of understand and grasp that if you're turning on your dad, it's going to be a little more flavor, more interest in the storyline. It's going to kind of get people interested rather than just a boring storyline. So I kind of knew that and was excited for it.
Oh, absolutely. Now, was TNA your guys' first wrestling appearance on live television?
Yeah, because when that happened, I was too young. We weren't getting involved in any storylines or anything with WWE or ECW or nothing. So that was the first time. That was our first experience or exposure to television.
Did you guys have any kind of involvement in pro wrestling outside of being on TV, like on an indie show or anything like that before that happened at all?
Yeah. I mean, like little things. Like I remember there was a book called Are We There Yet with WWE? And it was just like about the wrestler's family, I think it was. And we were on that. But that's like little stuff like that, like maybe a magazine or a book or maybe like a behind the scene footage, but something just small, like almost like a cameo kind of deal. Nothing like a storyline aspect of focusing on the kids. Or there was the DVD, or no, that was after TNA. Yeah, so it was all pretty much like behind the scenes, little cameo kind of deals.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I remember that watching you guys come out on TNA, and I thought it was the coolest thing, man. I was right then and there. I knew you guys were going to be something. I just felt it, and I think it's starting to show. I mean, you guys had a lot of success on AEW programming, being there, you know, and getting your name out there more and stuff like that, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Now, you guys trained at your dad's school. Tell us what it was like training at your dad's school. Was he harder on you guys than he was on other trainees, or?
Yeah, very hard. Yeah, very hard. Most people who come up in the school usually they start off in the beginner's class for about a year, go to the advanced class. That's like the process and how they do it. Like we were in the beginner's class for I think like 2.5 years, so we were doing it a little longer. And that was because he kind of wanted to stay and work with us and do extra stuff, like make sure we got this and got that. So it was an aspect. He was more harder on us and made sure that we perfected some of the move sets and stuff more than other students. Not more than other students, but he had the time to do it with us because we were always around.
Right.
So,
what about you, Terrell? Did you feel there was more of a push for you guys?
Yeah, like I know that he, like when you mix personal feelings into it, like if, for example, if he has a student and he tells a student to do a hip toss and the student can't do a hip toss, he doesn't know that student's background yet, but like he knows everything that we're capable of doing. So if I couldn't do something and he felt like he knew we were capable of doing it and he thought like you're just being lazy or you're not trying, or I know like he like judge his personal feelings. So he would get very frustrated sometimes. Like he would really kind of dig into us to make sure that he was able to get the full potential just because he knew us so well. So I definitely feel like there's that personal aspect of being tough on us and being hard on us for sure.
Oh, for sure. And it pushes you guys to be the best. And
Yeah.
I think, you see it with you guys already, that there's no doubt in my mind, you guys are going to be a legendary tag team, as well as it not following exactly in your dad's footsteps, because you guys want to go your own route. But I already feel it with you guys, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for you guys. You guys had an opportunity of being involved at the Performance Center a few years ago. Tell us what it was like with that experience.
Yeah, we were doing indies in 2013. We had wanted to go overseas to Japan. Like that was always on my bucket list kind of thing. And so the day before my dad got inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2018, he talked to Mark Carano, who was in charge of talent relations, and was like, how do I get my boys overseas? And he was like, talk to Hunter. So he ended up talking to Hunter at like the next TV, and he was like, just send him to a tryout, and we'll see from there if we can get him some opportunities on the indies or Evolve, stuff like that. He just wanted us to kind of get in front of the PC, not for like a contract yet, but more just to like get us on like the bigger indies or overseas. And so that opportunity there was really for us to go overseas or go to Evolve. But it was a cool experience because in 2018, I think I was like 22 or 23. So we were still super young, and we're young now, but we were even younger then. So we had so much time left that it was just an opportunity for us to understand how the tryouts work, what they're looking for promo wise. We got a lot of advice from a lot of the coaches. So I just think that we got so much that we took away from that tryout. That was pretty cool. And we got a lot of opportunities too. So yeah, it benefited.
For sure. Terrence, how did you feel about that experience?
The tryout was our first tryout for WWE. So it was more about like understanding what they look for, what they want. And I personally just enjoyed the experience because, they took us more seriously, like instead of because we would talk about it with the coaches and stuff whenever we'd visit as family friends, like, this is what it takes. But now we're actually in the tryout going through it. And then we did another WWE tryout in 2020. And then that was a good tryout also. So I think we have a third one coming up soon. So, yeah.
Do you guys think that at that point of your third tryout coming up, that there's a big possibility of signing that contract?
We're always looking for opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. We almost had it in the last one, but the pandemic happened. And it was a good tryout. They were looking for people, and then the pandemic happened. So,
gotcha.
So the third one should be good. The third one's coming up in a few months. So,
well, I can't wait to see that announcement, man. I think it's going to be awesome. You guys had probably a decent amount of matches in AEW programming. We've seen you guys wrestle guys like the Gun Club, another second generation tag team. We've seen you guys wrestle Jurassic Express, SCU, FTR. Did you guys learn anything specific from any of those teams while you guys were in the ring that you guys didn't learn while training with your dad and training at the Performance Center?
Yeah, I think every time we wrestled, just new people in general, you learn something new from other guys. Like going on the indies, we learned. Going in AEW, we learned. I think especially going AEW because you have more seasoned vets there, it's better. And then more people that have worked in front of cameras, like SCU, who've been in TNA for years. They gave us a lot of great advice, like when to pull us back, slow down, formatting matches and things like that. And then we wrestled Serpentico, who I've known for like years because he trained at our dad's school. So we're every single match that we had, I think every tag team, we were able to take something away from either vets or people that were already there, like Jurassic Express, who have been there for a while now, who were able to teach us a couple things too. So, yeah.
For sure. I know, Terrence, you were about to say something too, right in the beginning. Tell us what your experience was that, did you feel the same as your brother or something different?
Yeah, just, no, it's exactly what he said, just how to react, how to pull back, how to go, things that veterans would know from years of being in the ring and being in front of, doing TV matches. Pretty much doing TV matches is one of the biggest things that you learn on Dark, especially when there's no crowd there. Because when there's no crowd like cheering you on and giving it to you, you kind of have to pull it from underneath you, you know.
Yeah.
So that's the toughest. It's easy to work with a crowd. It's harder to work with no crowd, which was all through the pandemic. Yeah.
I think that's the toughest thing. It's almost like a comedian who's got to tell jokes, but there's no audience laughing. Like that was the most that's the most nerve-wracking, because that's how tryouts are too. When we had our WWE tryout, Matt Bloom and like all the coaches just kind of circle around and sit there and just stare at you. Like they're not fans, so they're not gonna react. And then with AEW, so you gotta like go. You don't have the fans there to react and go off of. So that's probably one of the hardest things. But it helps, if anything.
Oh, for sure. I mean, did you guys have any kind of independent work during the pandemic, or were you guys just kind of waiting by?
I don't think the indies were, because everything was shut down pretty much. And then when things started opening back up, indies weren't really running. I mean, as soon as indies started running back up, as soon as we started doing indies again. So throughout that time of like, what was it, late 2020? Yeah, late 2020 through like mid 2021 is we weren't really doing any. I don't think anybody really was. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you guys were out of wrestling for a little bit. What did you guys do during the pandemic?
During the pandemic, in terms of wrestling wise, that's the most we were at AEW. If we weren't wrestling, we were there. Because you know, sometimes if you're not wrestling, you still should. It's in Jacksonville. Yeah. We live in Orlando, so we're only 2.5 hours away. So wrestling wise, during the pandemic, most of the only wrestling we did was AEW, driving back and forth between Orlando and Jacksonville and going to the shows and wrestling, or just being there just to learn more.
Man, did you guys have other jobs than wrestling? Like, did you guys work doing other stuff, or?
Yeah, non-wrestling wise, we both work. I work from home. My brother also works from home. So it's pretty convenient because we kind of make our own schedule, especially in wrestling. And with this, you can kind of make your own schedule, do other stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much what we did throughout the pandemic. I think everybody worked from home actually during the pandemic. But even without the pandemic, we worked from home. So
yeah. No, that's awesome though. I mean, getting to be on AEW programming. If you guys could pick one favorite match out of that whole experience, who would you guys say it was against?
He's probably. It would be between SC. I would say between SCU and Santana Ortiz. I really like wrestling Santana and Ortiz because of the aggression that they have. One of the things I think is cool about them is that before they're about to go out there and wrestle, they're fully in. They don't have no friends. They don't look at nobody. Like, they're pissed off like before they go out there. And I like how they get into that mind frame. And then when you're out there, like, you're not friends, you're not nothing. You guys are enemies. It's like going to a war with them. So I like the aggression from them pretty much.
Oh, for sure. What about you, Terrell? Who would you say was?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Yeah, it's like when you go in there with them, they want to go to war with you. Like, they really want to fight. Like, it's not a work. So like, I thought that was pretty cool, because like, if you're actually wrestling, like, I kind of like to like feel something. I don't want to go through the motions. So like, and they're so innovative too. So like, all the different stuff that they do kind of to me was like, it was a different style. They're always going. They're so quick and they're hard hitting. So I like their style and I like working with them. I'd say Santana and Ortiz.
Oh, I love seeing you guys have that opportunity, because, you know, when you see a name that you know on AEW programming, it's always awesome. And seeing you guys get that opportunity was such a cool feeling. You guys have been in the ring with more notable independent tag teams that people have seen on like WWE, NXT, stuff like that, or MLW, as the Metro Brothers. You guys have gone against them. You guys have also gone against the Dirty Blondes. Tell us about your experience with like teams like that, how it was wrestling with like the Dirty Blondes, for sure, because I know they're a hard-hitting tag team. How was it going against them?
The Dirty Blondes are like a throwback, because they're like real old school, and I like working with them because they're, like I said, old school. They don't do a whole lot of spots and flips and dives. They're like kind of like a throwback from like the 80s and 70s. So I really like working with them because it's always an easy night working with them. I think they're probably on the independent circuit as far as like non-names go. I think they're probably like my favorite to work with.
For sure. What about you, Terrence?
with the Dirty Blondes because, like my brother said, it's almost like a day off. They're very in your face, mean, heels, so they get the crowd going. Every time I'm there, I see the crowd just yelling at them, wanting to jump the guardrail and fight them. So when you have like crowds that hate them so much, it's so easy for them to love us, as baby faces. So it was really easy working with them, and coming up on the indies. It's kind of cool to get that experience to learn how to work like old school guys who are easy to work with, which we just did this past weekend with CW Anderson and Preston Quinn. CW Anderson is ECW original, so old school guy, wrestled with our dad. And then Preston Quinn is from ROH. So two guys that are veterans, old school, and they know how to get the crowd going. And it's really easy working with those guys. And for young guys like me and Terrell, it's cool for us to get those experiences so we could do the same thing as we go on,
Oh, for sure. I mean, a lot of us know CW Anderson. Preston Quinn, I'm not familiar with, but you can't look back at ECW without seeing the Extreme Horsemen,
Yeah.
CW Anderson, part of that for sure. You guys have been wrestling for over 5 years now. What are some of your guys' favorite moments so far?
It's AEW, because AEW was the most exposure that we got. It was the most it helped us with indie bookings, coming up in the wrestling industry, going to different cities. You have indie promoters that will give you rates and tell you what it takes to get to their city. Once we got more exposure with AEW, it helped us out, with travel and money and just getting a little bit more work. So I'd say AEW so far.
What about you, Terrell?
Yeah, I would say AEW too. Yeah, because like with indies, it's you have promotions that run like weekly or monthly, but it's kind of like sometimes they book you, sometimes they don't. You're not always going back every month, or sometimes you have other obligations. With AEW, during COVID, we were going back like every week, and so it was something that was real consistent. And that locker room was full of guys and women that are really, really talented. So it's kind of like a family with AEW. And so I think that experience was cool because it was consistent. You build relationships and you're there and you get to know the boys and the women in the locker room. And then you're working with them on a week to week basis during COVID. So I think just because we were constantly going back, that's probably one of my favorite moments so far.
For sure. Which brings me to my next question. If you guys got an offer for a contract from both promotions tomorrow, which one would you guys choose? Or is that a hard decision?
Wherever the money goes.
I was gonna say it's not a hard decision for me at all. Me and my brother are all about the money. Like if that's what we're here for, because we're obviously. I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, I love wrestling. I'm passionate about wrestling. I'll wrestle for free." But let's be honest. Wrestling is what makes a living. It's what determines, the house, the zip code, everything you have, and
for sure.
That's why we enjoy working and grinding, so we can hopefully get as successful as we can and make as much money as we can and do what we enjoy doing. Growing up and seeing our dad do it and seeing how to do it, what things to do, what things to not to do. We're just trying to find a way to make money. So to answer your question, whichever company would see more value in us and whichever one would offer us more money, it wouldn't matter which one.
You guys think Impact might ever be a possibility?
If they offered us more money. Like if Impact offered us more money, then yeah, I wouldn't see anything wrong with Impact,
Awesome. I can't wait to see you guys on live television. I know it's happening sooner than later. I can't wait for that to happen. One final wrestling question I want to ask you guys before I get into a couple of twin questions here for you. Do you guys prefer being baby faces or do you guys want to be heels?
I like them both.
Both, yeah, but I think I was talking about it with my brother the other day. We had a match and we were getting the crowd real riled up. And there's nothing more fun than seeing people want to hit you. You know what I mean? Because you got that reaction out of them. I don't know why. It's a cool feeling. Like I like it when people cheer you, but I feel like a lot of guys can come in there and get you to cheer them. But I feel like getting somebody to like want to punch you in the face is like harder, and it's more, I don't know, it's more rewarding if I can get somebody to really, really hate us. I think they're both, I like them both, but if I get a crowd to hate us, I think that's probably the better feeling.
So you're more like 51% heel, 49% face.
Probably, yeah.
What about you, Terrence?
I like the challenge. Me and my brother are twins, and we're second generation. So when we first started doing indies, we did notice a lot of people would cheer us regardless because of the story, especially little kids. Little kids love twins, and like little kids are trying to tell us apart. So like they easily love to cheer us, but the challenge of getting people to hate you and wanting to fight you is pretty fun. So I would say I would like doing them both, but maybe like my brother, a little more percent towards heel so that we get that challenge,
Oh, for sure. And I think the heel work, just getting the crowd going, because if you get them going the right way, they love when you're the bad guy. It works perfectly. But I did see parts of, I watched, like I said earlier, I watched the Chris Van Vliet interview with you guys. I noticed you guys said that you guys came out with the tie-dye in the beginning of your guys' career in tribute to your dad and Bubba Ray. You guys used the 3D as your finisher. Is there any finisher you guys would use outside of the 3D ever? If you guys had to choose a different finisher, what would it be?
I would say
we've been doing. Yeah, the 3D is like the one. It's the go-to for us. But if we had to choose something else, like in AEW, we did it with Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian, where my brother picked him up for like a side slam, and then I went to the top rope and did a leg drop from there. So I think that's probably our next finish, other than 3D.
The Doomsday device probably would be the next one.
Road Warriors.
Yeah, I thought of a cool finisher for you guys, but I don't want to just throw it out there. I think it'd be cool. Actually, I'll throw it out there. I think it'd be cool if you guys did double saving grace, the inverted lifting DDT that your dad did, and you guys did that together. I think that'd be a pretty sick finisher because we don't see that often either.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah, just sit back with it.
yeah, I think it'd be really cool. I mean, something unique. You've seen the regular lifting DDT from Edge and Orton or Edge and Christian. You've seen that happen, but you never seen an inverted style. So I think that'd be a really sick finisher. Couple twin questions here for you guys. Which one was older?
I'm older by 1 minute, 60 seconds.
By 1 minute. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you guys dress alike growing up?
My mom used to dress.
We still do. We still do, kind of.
Well, yeah, in wrestling for sure. Did you guys? How old were you guys when you guys got to start dressing your own style?
Probably like middle. No, probably like.
Yeah, like elementary school.
Yeah,
like
out of elementary
teenagers.
School. So like.
Did you guys hate it at all?
No, I mean, me and my brother are the type of twins where we don't really. We don't get weird about doing things together. We don't get weird about dressing alike. We kind of encourage it. I know there's a lot of twins that kind of want their own identity that don't really like that. We're the opposite. I mean, I think it's because we just enjoy the same things. We enjoy competing in the gym, working out. We enjoy, try to crush goals in wrestling and try to keep getting better. We enjoy, we just enjoy the same things. So I don't think we at all strayed away from dressing differently. We still kind of somewhat to extent do.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
Are you guys each other's best friend?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Bella twins, the Usos, they're good examples of it. I mean, I'll see them sometimes when I go to the WWE shows. They're pretty close together, but that's because I think we all share that same passion, and we're kind of like business. You kind of look at it, your brothers, business partners, friends. But of course, too much isn't good. Too much of anything isn't good. So we definitely separate, when we're not wrestling, we're not at the gym, stuff like that. We definitely aren't always together 100% of the time. But
that's awesome though. But you guys talk every day probably, right? For sure.
Yeah, we talk every day. Definitely.
That's awesome. I mean, so when you guys were older or somebody like bullied one another, you guys always had each other's back or anything like that.
Yeah, we used to
it's
get
always
fights in high school.
You said what's that?
Yeah, like if we like, there was a couple of times in high school where if he got into a fight, somebody would run and get me, and then I would come around the corner. Like it's happened in high school. Like I think 3 times, like when we were growing up, where if anybody was bullying one, we went to the same school. So like I would hear about it, and then like I think 2 times already we almost got expelled for beating up somebody. together.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of twins I knew that were like that, but then I also knew some twins that grew apart quite early, that didn't want anything to do with each other. I mean, I haven't talked to my brother in 3 months, so it's
you're a twin.
it's
So
kind
you
of
guys are
rough.
different.
Yeah,
You guys
I
are
mean,
not similar. No.
we grew up similar, but the older we get, we drift apart. Same different type of music, different type of comedy. I love pro wrestling. He's not a fan. So it's just we've been different for sure. It's always cool to hear stories of twins and how they are, compared to how me and my brother are. So it's always fun to hear that kind of stuff and to see you guys as close as you guys are. It's awesome. So when you guys were growing up, you guys played sports and stuff too?
Yeah, we played just about
Almost
everything:
every sport.
baseball, football, basketball, karate, wrestling, literally piano. Like my mom, when my dad traveled, he was always gone. So my mom was a stay-at-home mom. So she had another newborn baby at the time, who was my younger brother most of the time while my dad was traveling. So she wanted to keep us busy. So that was probably a blessing in disguise that she was trying to get rid of us, because that's what taught us discipline and getting in shape. And like that was kind of what fueled our passion for like wrestling is being in sports all our lives. So yeah.
What was your guys' favorite sport growing up?
Football. Oh, it was a tie between football and wrestling. I would say for me it's football, but I did stop playing football my senior year because wrestling got pretty competitive and serious for me. So like freshman, sophomore, and junior year, I was on the football team and I was on the wrestling team. And if you know anything about football and wrestling, they're two different seasons. Football is like during the beginning of the year, and then wrestling is during like winter time. So senior year, I was like, I want to train on the off season and focus on one sport so I can get to states. So I dropped football, which was my favorite, but I dropped football to do wrestling. And I actually went to states my senior year in wrestling. And the reason why I chose wrestling was because I knew after high school I wanted to pursue professional wrestling. So I was like, I might as well get really good at like real wrestling, like amateur wrestling. So then I focused and I did wrestling off season and during the season, senior year. But football I played from the time I was in first grade. So that was definitely my first passion.
Oh, for sure. What about you, Terrell?
Football. Yeah, football was I played that since I was 9 up until high school. And I played defense. So I love defense and I love to hit people. So football was definitely my favorite sport.
Oh, for sure. I mean, obviously you guys love to hit people. You guys are in pro wrestling. So
yeah.
But no, I loved having you guys on here. It was absolutely awesome. I can't wait to see what the future holds for you guys. I think it's going to be a bright future. Like I said, a lot of people are going to see you guys and say, like, you guys look familiar. Obviously, your dad. But you guys are trying to go in your guys' own footsteps. And I think it's absolutely awesome. And I can't wait to see what the future holds for you guys. Do you guys want to tell the fans where they can find you at on social media?
We have a joint account on Twitter, which is _Hughes Brothers. That's HUGHES and then Brothers. And then for Instagram, we have our own accounts. My account is Terrence Hughes. Hughes is spelled with a Z instead of an S at the end.
I have Instagram. It's Terrell Hughes _
Absolutely. Guys, it's been so fun having you guys on the show. I really enjoyed hearing you guys' insight growing up into the pro wrestling world, where you guys are now. Can't wait to see what the future holds for you guys. We'll have to have you guys on for a part 2 down the road. I can't wait to see what that happens, man. Thank you guys.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
I appreciate it
very
much. Guys, until next time, take care.